Despite being poor, George believed he was destined for great things, like being rich and riding fast horses.
For a time he thought mudlarking was his ticket to wealth, that he would find a diamond necklace on the muddy riverbed at low tide. But he was an impatient child, so after a few weeks of mucking around to discover nothing but old buttons and thimbles, he quit the river and turned to a life of crime.
He did this by joining a local gang called the Bridge Boys, which met under the city's bridges, to plan heists, drink gin, arm wrestle, and ogle drawings of naked ladies.
George dreamt of being the world's greatest pickpocket, depriving gentlemen of their pocket watches and ladies of their jewelry with the greatest of ease. This was harder in reality than it was in his imagination, and practicing to become a barely adequate pickpocket was as boring as peeling a barrel of potatoes. Next, he decided to become a master lockpick, but that proved difficult too, the training as boring as peeling a barrel of carrots.
Why was crime so much work?
One night, the leader of the gang, a brutish boy named Lug, announced that if George didn't start earning his keep by next week, he'd be assigned begging duty. The entire gang gasped, as if Lug had threatened to murder George.
You see, begging duty required one of George's legs to be cut off below the knee. If he lived, he would then dress in rags and beg pitifully on the cathedral steps. It was a highly lucrative job, so much so that their last beggar had been stolen by a rival gang, the Beastly Babies.
"I don't want my leg cut off," George said. "Can't we just fake it?"
"Nah," Lug said, "not convincing enough. One good thing about amputation, though, you get a whole bottle of gin for the pain."
That wasn't payment enough. George had a week to make a pile of money. If he couldn't pickpocket or pick a lock, what could he do? The answer came to him in the middle of the night.
He could burgle a mansion.
Yes, that's exactly what he'd do. Mansions were full of treasures like silverware, candlesticks, and tapestries. If he got upstairs into bedrooms, he might even be able to nick some jewels and furs. He just needed to find a mostly empty mansion. That shouldn't be hard.
Rich people were always running off to the country to shoot animals.
That night, George found a mansion with all the windows darkened. He snuck around the back and was about to shatter a window with a rock when a faint voice behind him spoke. "Hello?" George turned, his heart pounding, to see a small boy in a long nightshirt. "Who are you?" "I'm Hector. Are you robbing my house?" What a stroke of luck! This boy was younger than him, shorter than him, and easy to intimidate. "Yes, I am. I'm the leader of the Bridge Boys gang." At this, George spit on the ground. "And if you don't take this bag, fill it with valuables, and bring it back to me in 10 minutes, I'll cut off your legs without giving you a bottle of gin for the pain."
George tossed a big bag to the boy and then spit again for good measure, as Hector ran inside to rob his own house. Ha! Burglary was easy. He'd be a rich man with a fast horse in no time. 5 minutes later, he was bored.
Since he was already here, it seemed a waste not to peek inside a mansion. Using the same door Hector had, George entered the house. He walked room to room, amazed by the sheer size of everything. Paintings covered entire walls, while the rug at his feet seemed longer and wider than most of the bridges the Bridge Boys loitered under. "Hector," a man's deep voice called out, "what are you doing with that bag?" George turned to run, but realized he had no clue which way to go. The mansion was like a maze, and he'd wandered through too many rooms. Dropping to his knees, he crawled under the massive carpet.
It was heavier than he thought it would be. He struggled to breathe. Perhaps he should have hidden behind the drapes instead. The end.
George, a life of crime does not pay, obviously. So, George was smothered under a rug. I want to know your story. If you think George was a good kid and ended up under a rug, regardless, you let me know in the comments below. How do you think he died? And so that was today. Tomorrow is Hector. H is for Hector. Done in by a thug. I want to say thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate everybody here, and I love you. Bye-bye. See you later. Alligator.